dust.
From Fresh Kills.
Yes, yes.
Everybody has a story. A lot of people went through so much that day, and months after that, and years, because it took so many years to remove all the steel and the debris from the site, right?
Right, well, Roger Toussaint sent me down
Right.
as soon as the planes hit. Actually, I wasn't able to get down until the morning of the 12th, but when I got there, I took our pictures of transit workers taking care of
Right.
rescue recovery and moving cars and, with the low boys and all that equipment. So at least I got pictures showing our transit workers down there on the pile.
A lot of men went down there, women and other agencies, and there was so many different agencies there. So everybody doesn't realize that there were more than just police and fire. There were
Right.
EMS, there were Verizon, there was steel workers and iron workers. And they call them.
That is very impressive.
So many of them.
Always remember.
You know how many
always
times you
remember
make
your
these
plumber.
things and they fall off and they blow off?
That's pretty, I know, that's pretty smart, isn't it?
That's a good idea.
On that day, of course, they wanted a lot of proof that you were down there, but it was so hard because it was such a gray area that they didn't want anybody taking pictures, right?
I went down there
So-
for the union taking pictures. I got photos of our
Now we have to
guys.
set 'em up. Hold on.
Yeah.
These are actually, these are pictures taken by some of our actual responders who,
I mean, I've seen pictures, but this is...
These are. If you give me a
There's
few
still
minutes,
smoke in the air here.
If you still give me a few minutes, this particular seat, we'll push forward a little bit.
You
This is Alan Grande, Ronnie Shpiller,
Sam Pirozzolo,
Pirozzolo. Your state assemblyman.
State Assemblyman for Staten Island, 63rd District,
Okay.
Mid-Island.
And we have Alan Sally.
At your
He's with
service.
Transit, Local 100.
100 Communications.
There you go.
2015.
Alan Grande, plumber,
Senator Tony Billa.
September 11th, first respond to the World Trade
I
Center
had him put
site.
up a bill for us. But he couldn't
Ron?
put specific.
And Ronnie, what was your title at the Transit?
I
What
was
were you?
emergency response plumber.
And Alan, you also was emergency response, correct?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
I was emergency response out of 14th and 6th. I went in the morning of to the Trade Center. I signed in at Bowling Green train station. The morning of, I had spoken to my day supervisor, Kenny Blau, and advised him where I was. I signed the logbook at Bowling Green train station, approximately somewhere around 12 o'clock. I walked up I walked up Broadway to the Bull, and then it was like gray and walking into the cloud.
A wall.
I turned around and went back home, got on the ferry. The next day, the 12th for the 13th, I went into transit, 14th and 6th. I had several hours trying to get there, and I made sure I would get there on time. And transit had 2 miles of trucks going in the aftermath. I was deployed on the vac truck.
Right.
The vac truck went to City Hall, the one that I was deployed to. The other vac truck went to the stock market. The purpose of the vac truck is there's multiple purposes of this vac truck. It's for the plumbers. It's a high-powered vehicle.
Right.
I've driven it, and plumbers are on board as well. The purpose of that is if there's flooding conditions. Also, we were going to the vents where the vent gratings are around City Hall, going inside the vents, looking for possible pathological waste. Also, cleaning them out,
Or
washing
survivors.
pathological waste, and also looking for anything out of normal.
Right.
And so after we did that, we cleaned them out, cleaned the drains out, and then we flushed everything out, and then that specific area was safe. The carpenters from Transit Authority had also sealed the top of them,
Right.
and with plywood. We did that around the whole site. Also, Transit Authority had a pump and train pumping water out, which was hydraulics division, and a lot of that stuff that was from above and below. Transit was also sealing the tunnels with 3 feet solid of concrete.
Right.
Because we were also watching for water as far back as Canal Street on the 1 and 9.
Right.
And so also with that, when they spoke about the water content, water mains were blown out, dumping down into the base and going out. Transit also, to my understanding, was testing the content of the water and so also found it to be drinkable water.
Okay, let's hold it off on
Just talk
that.
about the bill.
And we'll talk
That's
about,
why we're
we'll get
here.
into the bill right now.
I can explain 3 of these pictures. This first picture was taken, I had a disposable camera. This first, I had a disposable camera because I didn't know what I would be going into. So I took it on behalf of whatever I was gonna find, I didn't know. This particular picture, my coworker Frank Ryan had photographed it with my disposable camera. That is me in the picture. That is me in the picture. This particular picture, Ron, you wanna talk about it?
Yeah. We were down on the pile with everybody else, and we were moving dead bodies and body parts. I even witnessed them taking a chop saw and had to chop these 2 women that fused together, and they had to chop them in half. And we had to carry their bodies out and the body parts, arms, legs, half of a woman's head. That's me in the picture here. This is my whole crew. I was a shop steward at the time, in charge of these guys. This is the foreman, Alan Budger, Tommy Somo, forget his name, me, Jeff Gossers, Robbins,
No, you also had back here.
behind it, Danny Boyle.
Danny Boyle.
This is
Billy
Vinny
Newman.
Favola and Tom Kenyon.
These guys still
And
with
this
us?
is Tommy DeLivo.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're with us, but
Yeah.
believe it or not, just myself and Tom Kenyon are the only ones that got sick.
And so there's a lot of questions, added to what we're talking about. But the main focus while we're here today is also, I just wanted to create this scenario. If you were me and I were you, and this particular picture I photographed, and these are my footsteps, and this is what I was part of. To the best of the recollection of my mind, I believe I took them on the 15th. Now, this particular picture, I also took. These are my footsteps. So in these pictures, you could see all of the first responders that are there. I have to say this, America sent the best in, and everybody's focus was looking for survivors. And that was the reason that this was so important to every person. Every person that went there. It was a quiet, somber. There was also clergy people. There was also people on the site that had socks and clothing for people.
Yeah.
And so also, I also went across the street to the St. Paul's Church, and in that church is very historical. And I would always stay next to George Washington's pew on the right. And to the right of that, I would say prayers, and also in evenings, and also say, if we were in George Washington's times, what would we be doing? And that gave me the momentum to keep focusing on what I focused. Now also,
Weren't you ordered by Mayor Giuliani to told you everybody, all emergency personnel to report that day?
that was on the news that I witnessed, and I was at home with my dad.
And you're emergency personnel, right?
Yeah.
You're the-
This is, as you know, Staten Island events. That is a picture of me, September 14, 2001. I am a proud son of a United States Navy submariner. Submariner is Walter N. Grande, who served the United States Navy submarines, and the submarine is down in Philadelphia, has a museum. I am proud to have been served with other people, sir. It is very important to understand what transit's work was, and also every other agency. And these are the agencies that were down there, sir. Those are all the agencies, and I had all that notarized. That was given to me with this red badge. I signed up with the military checkpoint on West Street and Chambers Street to get this badge in front of 4 people that looked the size of a wall. They had to be close to 6'8".
Military
And
gave us
so-
those badges.
And so that was what was given to me. Also, when we speak about injured in the line of duty, sir, with transit authority, because this is a focus that we're talking about. Injured in the line of duty, may I sit?
Yeah, please.
Injured in the line of duty, what happens is what I went through, injured in the line of duty, all my injuries, excuse me, are individually classified with the 9/11 Mount Sinai study program. And so what happens is when we first went in, and then years later, I started 11/13/2000. September 11th was not even a year later. I didn't even clear my 1-year probation. And so what that meant was I went out sick in 2007. In that literature, you'll see the sick stuff, because once I went out sick, I had to go out. Once I was out 1 full calendar year, went into a technical termination under civil law number 71. I technically was fired because it's state law under the books. With that, I also lost my medical.
What year was that?
That was in, everything's right there.
Yeah.
And so it was in 2007, I went out sick. In 2008, that went into a technical termination under that law. That was the law on the books pertaining to how you would go out injured in the line of duty. With that being said, I could not collect unemployment, because unemployment means you have to be ready, willing, and able. So I lost unemployment. I lost my medical, I lost my job, and then now at certain points going forward, I was at my house one day, and all of a sudden I look in the mirror, and my heart right here turned bright red. I looked in the mirror, I turned over, and I blacked out. I hit my bathtub. I fell down. I don't know how long I was out. Once I was out on the floor, I regained consciousness. I stood up, I looked in my mirror. Then all of a sudden, when I looked in my mirror, what happened was my heart was bright red again. I then turned to my toilet and was vomiting blood. After that, what happened was I was so sick because I didn't have any medical. So then I called up the Workers' Compensation Board and I begged for medical. They said, okay, go to the hospital. I had to drive myself to a hospital. Once I drove myself to the Staten Island Hospital, because I was in Jersey, I drove myself to the Staten Island Hospital. And that also led into multiple things that I have. I have a nodule on my lungs, a nodule on my pancreas, okay? I was given medical before entry. This is extremely key to this. I was given medical prior to going into New York City Transit Authority. They clear me on all aspects of medical. You're in a booth for your hearing. They check your hearing. They check your vision for lights, because everything's with the lights in the tunnels. They check everything, so they clear you. So this is how all this starts and goes forward. Then what happens is I applied for workers' compensation. I then had to wait for workers' compensation. Once I was approved for workers' compensation, I then was deemed disabled, injured in the line of duty. Once injured in the line of duty, what happened was at that point, they retroed me, retro pay at workers' compensation rate. I lost my money. And so it's not about money at this point. And so what happened was, then I applied for Social Security. And once I received Social Security, then I went and I was able to capture Social Security. Then I was able to get medical through Social Security. Now at this time, the also part of that figure, let's just say, for argument's sake, and I'll just use a roundabout number, let's just say $60,000 a year. And so $60,000, because I did the math already. So at
60,000 for what?
let's just say if I made 60,000, right?
Salary.
Right? So 60,000. I'm out since 2007, and we're now speaking about in 2023. That's 16 years of potential revenue I could have made, potential earnings. At that point, I would have made 16 times 60 is $960,000 I lost on revenue. That's the beginning of this. The bill that we're trying to ask you permission to help us with, to sponsor, is that bill. That bill will save a lot of people's lives. And I also was going down with John Field, the Feel Good Foundation, going down to Washington and lobbying on behalf of transit and my fellow co-workers and other people to go down for this droga bill. And so this is extremely important, because when there is a next time, what do? And we will be used as an example, because as an example, when there is a next time. So there needs to also be a backup on this, which is a some sort of a bill pertaining to terrorists.
It was an act of war.
Just to let you
So-
know, also, let me intervene for 1 minute,
Yes.
if you don't mind.
Yes.
Every year, sometimes twice a year, we have the safety meetings. And we had the anti-terror,
Who's we?
transit employees.
New York City Transit.
Right, emergency response. The New York City Police Department have an anti-terrorist task force
Right.
that was trained in Israel. They came down to us and they said that they believe it's 2009 or 2010 that they stopped 6
Terrorist attacks.
terrorist attacks from January to April. They stopped 6 of them, and they said it's
What
not
year
a,
was that?
it's either 2009 or 2010, and they said it's not a question if, it's when the next one's going to happen. So then they started training us on emergency evacuations, on getting people out of the tunnels, getting them from train to train by putting boards in between them to get them going. They put us in Brooklyn, in the Brooklyn Yard, to go down in this like a little, it's an open area. You go down steps in an open area, and they filled it with smoke. You had to go in a respirator and go rescue a dummy and get him out of there. This was after 9/11. There's no way we could do something like that because we couldn't breathe. We all got lung disease.
Could I jump in 1 second?
Good.
In my role, what I was involved in, as you know, I grew up on Staten Island. I took the 79 bus in and traveled to Manhattan. The morning of September 13th, I deployed at a 14th and 6th. I was on the vac truck. A vac truck is a high-powered vehicle. It's for plumbers. And the purpose of many purposes is it also, there's a reel on the front, and it helps for clogging sewer pipes and stuff like that. And also, it's a big vacuum. So it's a high-powered vehicle for the plumbers. So I was deployed to City Hall. The person, my supervisor was Merchant. My co-worker was Ronnie Ritz. And the driver was Ferragamo, David Ferragamo. The other vac truck went to Stock Market, and Brian Lane was one of the supervisors on board. John Mastermarino was on board, and I don't know the other two. And I went to the Stock Market. The purpose of what we were involved in at that moment was to jump into the vents. The vents are vent gratings that allows the air to move throughout the subway. So when the subways are moving, that movement gets out through these vents. There is a large amount of them throughout the city. And so with that, I was one of many people jumping into the vents. I had Tyvek suit protecting me. Tyvek suit, my half full-faced respirator, the cartridges that are designed by OSHA for asbestos. Mm-hmm. And so I went through the one cartridge, one set of 2 should be good for 8 hours. I had 2 sets. I used both sets in 3 hours. That's how contaminated the air was. Second is, I would dump into the vent gratings, look for pathological waste, clear out the vents, clear out them so that they're clean, make sure the drains are good. Once I got out right on the street level, right above, right in front of the Brooklyn Bridge, right behind the City Hall. Once I was doing that, then carpenters came behind me and closed them up with wood. We did that throughout the whole site. Also, Transit Authority had a pumping train, pumping water in the tunnel. They also sealed the tunnels full, 3-foot concrete, solid concrete. They were locking them in. I was underneath that whole site. And so I could tell you from above and below. Second is we were concerned for many things. First and foremost was for survivors. It was explained to me by my supervisor on one night. Brian Lane said to me exactly, he said he heard that there was 1,200 possible people. So that's the number that rings in my brain. I don't know any other number than that 1,200. That's what I know.
Okay.
And so I was underneath along with other members, and so we were around that whole site.
On the pile, when we had the respirators, like you were saying, our filters got clogged within 1 hour. No replacement filters. Now you have to stay there with your mask off, and you have to work under those conditions. There was a guy from Con Edison who was full geared, and he had a meter. And one of my co-workers turned around and said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm checking the asbestos level." He said, "What does it say?" He said, 0.6. What does that mean? He says it's 6 times greater than the permissible level. So the air was filled with asbestos. We were exposed to it.
Yeah. So
Where
what,
did-
what's the problem? So you're being denied?
No,
They just never put it through.
Never put what through?
No.
The bills.
What we're asking, sir, is the reason why we're here is the disability bill with the World Trade Center disability bill.
Right.
Which is that bill that I spoke
Yeah,
about. I have 1 second, I need to just, 1 second, excuse me.
Just to let you know, every city agency got the 3/4 except for us, including teachers and hospital workers.
So you weren't denied something?
Well,
That's what
it
we're
just
talking
wasn't approved. Our bill, remember I told you the 5898 bill?
Right.
It's in that article. That was the bill that I had Senator Tony Avila put up for me. And then Goffrin was the one who finished it off. But yet, it was signed by the governor, but excluded us.
To understand this, it's your line of work. To understand this, we need your help. My question is, I don't know the language in there, the language is all built in there. As far as what I'm saying to you, as far as the bill itself, because when you go into session and stuff like that, does it need to be reintroduced and new sponsors, or is that an existing bill, or how do we go about this? We need your help.
So I'm gonna have to figure that out, right? I'm gonna have to do a deeper dive than I've already done because you're
Yeah.
bringing up different, circumstances. So basically, my initial thought is that a lot of 9/11 bills are happening. You're saying the transit workers were left out.
Yes,
Correct. Okay, so if there is a bill that's already in place, I would think that an amendment to that bill to include
That is an
you-
amendment.
This is the amendment.
The
Both of
other
them
one, wait,
amendments.
excuse me 1 second, because this is very important, 1 second.
Both of them are amendments.
Didn't you
course we
lose
let
your
that.
pension too? Like your pension, you don't have a pension now.
The 1/3
Since you
pension.
lost your job.
Well, the
right?
way it works is that, there's a disability pension that's under NYSERS that people can apply for. There's an accidental disability pension, which we don't qualify for.
I did,
You qualify for an accidental disability?
accidental
This is
disability.
That's
the
a
other bill we
3/4
were
pension.
speaking about.
Yeah,
I
but
don't-
then it's not approved.
I mean, I guess we're talking about, this bill was passed, the 3/4 bill was passed, but only for a very small group of employees. Namely,
So is this, just 1 second,
I'm sorry.
So is this the same bill, just this is the Senate version versus the Assembly version? Because this is
Yes.
multiple pages and.
It should be 7966 and 7174. No, yeah, 7966 and 7174.
Those are
This
copies.
seems beefier, but it probably has,
right, that's the bill that was already introduced that died because it wasn't, no action was taken on this bill in that particular year.
The next question I have is, because it says June 4th, and is that in session? Because the second one, I believe, you're saying,
Can I have a staple over there?
yes. The second
Are you
one,
leaving this with me?
yes, sir. The second one, because it's on June 4th, I believe, does that mean that it's in session on that date?
I have to find out, I have to look at the calendar.
Okay.
So this is an amendment that basically includes transit into whatever other 9/11,
Right.
NYSERS, New York City,
well, other 9/11 benefits are available, right?
with the World
Do you
Trade
know
Center disability.
which, so it's called the World Trade Center Disability?
Yes, well, it's called accidental disability as per World Trade Center disability law. That's what I was approved for.
Okay.
I don't know about-
That's not what I'm asking. So you
I believe
want.
it's stated in there, yes.
All right, well, I'm talking to you.
Yes.
So there is a law out there, or a fund, for 9/11,
Yes.
right,
know
for
more about
all employees, right? But transit workers were limited, so you want to join which fund is what I'm asking?
Yes,
It's in there,
yes,
but you-
yes,
I
Which
think
fund
that's
is it?
in the bill that was sponsored.
Okay, so that's gonna be in here.
That's
Yes.
correct. I would think that's,
One's
we're
in the
only
Senate,
looking
one's in the
for,
Senate, and one's in the.
they have to
Assembly.
mirror the language in both
They
houses.
did, they did,
That's
they
right,
did,
I
they
guess,
did,
right,
they did.
yeah, yeah. So-
That, I think, is what we're looking for that to be reintroduced.
So if I get two different names, I don't know which is which, so why don't you tell me, is there a specific name, is there a specific fund we're talking about? I don't know what these say yet.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Yeah, because I don't know where do they say that, right, the question is, where does the money come from? Is it part
The
of?
World Trade Center disability bill.
Well, but
Actually, they said that the governor, what I read was the governor said that they would sponsor half of it.
So you need to leave me phone numbers, so I'll go through this, and
All right.
if it doesn't match up, I need to call back and ask.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
because there are two bills I think we're talking about, which are the bill that was introduced by
One's by Diane
Cusick
Savino.
and
one-
Savino,
Those are them.
Those are the
that
two.
bill. And then there's this thing that you pointed out here,
Right.
which was signed by Cuomo. However, this bill itself only covers a very small group of employees, not transit, because that would be a lot more
So
people.
how did that happen?
A good question.
But you see,
How
the
does-
bill
how
that he
does someone-
signed was
because-
5898, which was the bill
It's not even questionable
that
like you want
Tony
to see
Avila
with
originally
transit
put up
workers
with.
involved.
It probably costs too much. You know, when they calculate the
No,
numbers, right?
It's not a question.
You're giving them more credit than they
Sir,
deserve.
it's about securing the United States when another attack goes. And it is all in our best interest to make sure we give our leaders the proper information. That's what this is about.
All right. I will do my work.
Thanks a lot for looking
Thank
into
you very
this.
much.
Okay.
My name is
who
Alan
you are.
Grande, plumber, New York City Transit Authority, first responder to the World Trade Center. This is Ronnie Shpiller, plumber, first responder to the World Trade Center. The reason why we're here today is actually to speak about this bill. That is first and foremost. Second is, these are bills of when I was deployed with New York City Transit Authority. On the 13th going in, on the 13th, morning of the 13th, Transit Authority deployed at the 14th and 6th. Transit Authority had 2 miles of trucks going in the aftermath. I was deployed on a back truck. My supervisor was Merchant and co-worker Ron Ritz. And the driver was Dave Ferragimo, and the second back truck was Supervisor Brian Lane and plumber John Mastamarino. And that truck was deployed to the stock market. The purpose of that vehicle is it's a high-powered vehicle for plumbers. It's a high-powered pressure vehicle to fix drains and stuff like that, to clean out the drains and stuff like that. I was deployed, excuse me, I was deployed to City Hall. The purpose of what I was involved in was clearing out these vents. There's many of them throughout the system. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but there's many of them. And so the purpose was to go in them, clean them out, look for pathological waste, clean them out, and look for possible survivors. If not, clean them out, make sure the drains are clean, and then backfill. We cleaned up above with carpenters from Transit, sealed them. That's what we were doing all over that whole site. Second is Transit had a pumping train pumping water in. They were actually, as the water was coming in and down, they didn't know where the water was coming from. So many people, thousands of people of Transit Authority were workers. And so that is what a lot of things we were involved in. The subways were filling up with water. Transit, from my understanding, was they were testing the water content, which was drinkable water, which were mains that were blown out, dumping into the subways. Transit Authority was sealing those tunnels solid with 3 feet concrete. We were watching for water as far back as Canal Street on the 109. And they also have right here, I'm originally from Staten Island, sir. That is me. That is me. This is my badge. The reason why we were authorized by my supervisor, Steve Nadowitz from Carpenter Supervisor, said you should get the red badge. So I signed up at a military checkpoint on West Street and Chambers Street. And there was 4 military people, National Guard I believe, and they gave one paper that I'll give you in a minute. And also, to get this red badge, it was told to me that if you were caught underneath on site, you could possibly be shot for looting. That's how much stuff was going on. America sent in the best. And believe me, I'm the son of my dad's United States Navy submarine. He actually passed away. The submarine he served on is USS Bakuna 319. It is my honor and responsibility and duty to tell you this. Because of the fact is, if this ever happens again, what do? So there needs to be, we're speaking about a specific bill about 3/4 disability, but also it is my responsibility and duty as American to tell you what actually transpired. And so therefore, to protect the homeland, that's also why I'm here, sir. You know, because we need to do what we have to do. And so there were so many agencies down there. And also I'd like to show you another thing.
Let me intervene for 1 second.
Go ahead.
I was on a pile, taking out dead bodies and body parts to give closures to families who lost their loved ones. I was there when they chopped 2 women in half that fused together. They chopped them in half, we took their bodies out. There was a half of a woman's skull, there was arm and leg, and there's a guy behind me with a bucket. I said, what are you doing with the bucket? He's got fingers in the bucket. This left an impression that I have nightmares constantly from this, and I'm suffering from this. We all have multiple illnesses, and this is what we need to have done.
Sir, this is what was given to me with this red badge. Those were all the agencies that were down there on site, you know? And so it is extremely important to give the right people the right information at the right time. And so that's why we're here. We're here also on behalf of being first responders to the trade center, but also giving our elected officials in their office the proper information so it never happens again. That is my focus. And that's why we're here also with that bill. Also coupled with the Assembly bill.
So,
79.
just so I understand, so the Gorin bill passed, right? The Gorin bill covered non-uniform,
Correct.
but it still excludes you?
Yes. It says right there. It says.
Well, it says they're eligible. It says new law establishes transit employees are eligible.
But if you read on, you'll see the bill that was passed, 5898. I don't know if it's on the other side or this side.
Parity in benefits for 9/11 first responders by Jim Gorin, provide disability benefits to civilian public employees who responded to Ground Zero, eliminates the disparity in coverage between uniformed and non-uniform workers.
Right, that was us.
So his bill, so can you get Becky?
Yeah.
His bill covered you, in
Correct.
theory,
Yeah, correct.
so under his bill, you should have been covered.
Correct. And
But then you have, it
right
says
here.
you're covered here, yeah. But then this, I'm confused with the Savino bill.
But then when they didn't include us, they put these amendments to, these two amendments, the bills in the,
The one
And the Senate
the one that we just spoke about, to Assemblyman Sam Pirozzolo, we just spoke about that. So that's one and that's two.
Becky, so we're here with some transit workers from TWU, they were all 9/11 first responders, and we're discussing the discrepancy in their benefits. And now, there was a Gorin bill that was signed,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
that eliminated the discrepancy between uniform and non-uniform, and it includes, according to this article, transit employees. But then there was a subsequent Savino bill that would have also given them the 9/11 rescue recovery cleanup 9/11 disability. After the 3/4, after the Gorin bill passed. So I don't understand, maybe we can figure out what the remaining gap is that existed between the Gorin bill and then what the Savino bill's trying to do.
2021. It's public workers eligible for the same 75%. Those work side by side. Right. I think before that it was about 2/3. And then let me see this.
And that's 3/4. So you're saying the Gorin bill was a 2/3
No.
bill?
That's what the Gordon bill was supposed to fix.
Yeah.
So what is this doing?
this is an amendment because they left us out, even though the bill was for us.
There's
Even
the
though
one
it
in Senate and
says-
then the one right
That's
there.
what I'm trying to understand, because you, according, and we have to, well, do some more research, but according to this article, you should not have been left out under
They're
the Gorin.
correct, that's correct.
Is
And
that
that,
the,
if you
No.
Google it, you find that online.
Any member of the, let me just see what this says. Any member of the NYSER system who is employed by New York City Transit Authority and who participated. I think you could actually reference the retirement plan too.
Yeah, it's standard WTC language.
Excuse me.
As a
GPA
matter of
performance
fact,
of duties equal to allowance equal to 3/4 of FAS. Any member who has made application or who after the effective date of the subdivision makes application. Yep. Yeah, I mean,
So we gotta figure out what happened with this Gorin bill and why they're not
Yeah.
covered, even though they should have been covered. So I don't know, I mean, it's curious to me, because you should have been covered, right? So I don't know why.
Should've been.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to speak about these pictures if I may. All right, first one, this
Yeah.
is my footsteps. I photographed this picture, these are my footsteps. Second one, I had a disposable camera with me because I didn't know what I would be getting into. I was deployed from 14th and 6th. Excuse me, and so these were in the time frame that I was down there, so I didn't know what I would be experiencing. So this particular photograph was photographed by my coworker Frank Ryan, who I was working with. That is me in the picture. This particular photograph is
No, it's fine, it's fine.
is by I photographed that picture as well. This particular picture, I photographed as well. This is actually on the side street where Burger King was up above.
Yep.
The fire department looking.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at it from the side, what the fire department was looking. Right into the crust of it. And so this one here, Ronnie, you want to take it away, bud?
Yeah, this is, I was a shop steward.
Oh,
This
walk
is our-
over there,
This is
yeah.
our gang over here. Al Fudger, Tommy Summo, Tommy Grebo, that's me, Jeff Gossett, Danny Boyle, Robbins, Vinnie Favola, and Tom Kenyon. Believe it or not, he and I are the only ones that got sick from it. I can't understand what the rest of them did, because they had the filters, they had extra filters,
Yeah.
we didn't have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
They
So,
had no supply.
so these are ongoing questions on a lot of things. And as I was saying, my dad was in the United States Navy submarine. Submarine he served on is USS Pecona 319. It's down in Penn's Landing as a museum, first and foremost. Second of all, when those buildings were hit, we were at war. America sent in the best. I wanted you to know that because it is what it is. I was surrounded by the best in America. And every American that was down there, you had to get in and get out. And what we were involved in from above and below. I was at all those points down below. And so I could tell you all the things from underneath. And so what happens is the first and foremost is when you're injured in a line of duty, that's the first thing. Second thing is when I was injured in a line of duty in 2007, what happens is this is crucial to that bill. What happens is when you're injured in a line of duty, there's a format. The format I went through was actually Civil Law number 71. So once I was out one full calendar year, it went into a technical termination. Then from a technical termination, I lost my medical. Then from my medical, I then had to apply for workers' compensation in the interim. I went out 35 weeks, no pay. Workers' compensation backlogged me on pay of workers' compensation rate. Then all of a sudden I applied for Social Security. I was awarded Social Security. Excuse me, pertaining to that bill, what happens is I lost possible potential earnings, which I went out in 2007. I'm using me as an example. And I went out in 2007, and so I lost 16 years of possible earnings, of possible wages. And that's what we're talking about,
Yeah,
you know? And so I believe it's a national issue because what happens the next time? And so when it's the next time, it needs to be said.
I got DVDs, two, short one and a long one from the transit. If you would like them, I made copies for you, if you want to see them.
Yeah.
Because there'd be stuff that you never saw before, just like you're seeing in this picture.
Right.
You'll see it.
So-
Look,
I know you have somewhere to go.
No, that's not where I was gonna go, where I was just saying. What I was gonna say was,
Yeah.
you know, a couple of things. Number one, I used to chair the Civil Service Committee. And now I no longer chair that committee. I still serve on it, but I no longer chair it. And when I was chairing the Civil Service Committee, we did a number of bills,
Right.
as you saw from the article, to expand
Right.
and extend protections and benefits for first responders who were down there. You know, everyone, right? If you were on the pile, if you were a police officer, port authority, if you were a night shift clerk picking up buckets of, garbage,
Right.
debris, not garbage.
So this is-
All of
this
you, right?
is-
So
Sir,
we've done that a lot.
may I
and
interject?
well, I'm not trying to say, and before I take this issue very, very seriously, and I want to get to the bottom as to why you're excluded, right?
Right.
May I interject? These are all the classifications. This is the Mayor's Office of
Yep.
Emergency Management. This is the badge I just spoke
Yep.
about as far as getting it. I signed up with the military, National Guard, and this was what was given to me. These are all the agencies that were down there. It's my responsibility as an American citizen to tell you and give you the right information.
And may I interact? Were you ordered by Mayor Giuliani, all emergency personnel from New York City to report that day?
That was on the news.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I know.
Right.
I know. I believe me.
mean,
I know it.
yeah.
I know it because of the work we've done as I was chair of the Civil Service Committee. Before I got elected, I used to sit on the NYSERS board, and I was on the 9/11 Disability Subcommittee.
Right.
So I would, which I know has been a whole mess, but I would sit with and hear from folks who were on the pile, who were
Right.
ordered to go down to the pile, ordered there for the week after, the month after, the year after, and having to prove their case that they were in fact answering that call, and then they got disabled from it. So I spent the better part of the last 10 years looking at a lot of pictures like this and
Right.
understanding
I
understanding the
imagine.
sacrifice and understanding the work that went into it and understanding the burden that many of you are still dealing with. So that's all just to say, I don't know why the law that we passed doesn't include you. We will figure it out,
Okay.
and we will figure out what's going on here. Has anyone reintroduced the bill, to your
Yeah.
knowledge?
No.
No, well,
So
that
we'll
was-
look at that
We,
as
Zero
well.
bill?
we were
Okay.
told by the union's political committee that the bills need to be reintroduced.
Reintroduced.
Okay.
And need sponsors.
Okay, so let's
That
Right.
does need to be
first let's
reintroduced?
figure
Yeah,
out.
but they-
I think
that's
the
what they
first
said.
thing I want to do.
Right.
I don't want to just tell you what you want to hear and then be wrong about it. What I want to do is I want to tell you. I want to figure out why you're excluded.
Right.
Right.
The
There's no good reason for it morally, but
Right.
based on what we have right now, it looks like you should have already been covered, making this bill not necessary. But let's figure out why, and then we can figure out. Once we have that answer, we can figure out how to move forward,
Right.
and then
Nice
figure
is,
out.
it says, I was approved for accidental disability pension as per World Trade Center disability law, but I'm not qualified for it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense
I
to me. Yeah.
can a suggestion. There is so many crossroads in this, and so we want to get it right. And I was going down to Washington D.C. to lobby as well with John Field, the Feel Good Foundation,
Yeah.
and thousands of people.
Right.
And so I had asked Phil to video stuff, and he has made a collage of different videos of what I just said. And doing so with the Zadroga bill, the government had created the World Trade Center Medical Monitoring Program at Mount Sinai. And now it's a Center of Excellence. So once you get on that, you're actually certified
Yeah.
on that. And so there is a major proof on a lot of people that, and also the TWU was giving out affidavits. So they were collecting for years as well as affidavits.
Yeah.
And so it's a paper trail, and it is very easy. And because I need to say this because it's so mind-boggling, because you can go to a rock concert and you can sell out 80,000 tickets within a couple hours. Now, to understand 80,000 people, what I'm talking about, I don't know if you're a Giant or Jet fan, but if you go to a stadium, that's 80,000 people.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. And so, to understand that, because you have to go and you have to jump through hoops and be, you become disabled, but it's like, how many times are you disabled?
I know.
And so this is what we're speaking about, and it's my duty to give you the proper information. And whether or not people do anything about it, I did my best.
Yeah, no, we want to, believe me, as someone who, when 9/11 happened, I could see the smokestack coming up from my house. I live in Bay Ridge. The papers and debris
Yeah.
were flying over the ocean, the bay, landing on the pier at 69th Street, covered. We lost people that we knew. I
Right.
take this 9/11 incredibly seriously. That's why when I was the chairman of the committee, we did about 9 or 10 bills specifically about 9/11 disability benefits, because I know that there were so many gaps that existed, and there were so many people that were put through the ringer and are still being put through the ringer that we tried to help. And so I take everything you just said incredibly seriously,
Thank you.
and
Thank you very
it
much.
is not lost on me one
Thank you
bit.
from the bottom of my heart.
The
Thank you.
folks that, just everyone was a hero that day, right? Everyone answered that call in different ways, and you were doing your job, right? And you would have done it probably even if it wasn't your job, if you were ordered to. But the fact is, you were ordered to, you were told to, you had to go somewhere, and you did it. And you're now sick because of it, and others are sick because of it, and others have died because of it.
Yeah.
And we have to get that right.
Right.
Yes.
So we will look into this,
Okay.
and we'll try to untie this knot and see what.
Question. Diane Zavino had some action on it in 2022, and they said it needs to be reintroduced. If there was action in 2022, what
It's
does
a
it have?
new year. It's a new session, so the legislature meets every 2 years, right? So we're here for a 2-year term. If something doesn't become a law within that
Right.
2 years, then it's like clean slate, start all over again, which is frustrating.
Right.
But you have to then reintroduce it and start the process all over again.
Okay.
So that's where But let us do our homework first. Let's look into
Right.
this a little bit. If you guys leave your information here
Right.
with Becky, we
Thank
will
you.
follow up and just see what we can figure out. And then we'll talk about next steps.
Thank you,
Okay?
thank
I don't
you.
want to tell you it's
Yeah.
going to be XYZ if
Right.
actually XYZ is not the answer here, right?
I
wanna-
just appreciate you
Yeah.
from the
Right.
get-go. As soon as you got in, you fought for us.
And
Absolutely.
Ronnie, when they were all waving, thank you, when they were thanking
When
you,
we
as
ride
you were
back
there
the bus, we had to
working.
doing 16-hour shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These people had candles out there because there's no electricity.
Yeah.
And they were saying, thank you, you guys are heroes, we love you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. You know, it was very emotional.
Of course
Yeah.
it is. It still is.
And anyway, just to see that
Mm-hmm.
we're 22 years later, we're still fighting for this.
Yeah, and it was so hard to get these photographs to even take pictures
Yeah.
down there because obviously they didn't want anybody taking pictures.
Yeah.
Because it was such a tragedy.
Look,
that would
every
happen.
year, every year I host a 9/11 memorial ceremony. Still
Yeah.
to this day, right? Because it's important that we all recognize that day,
Could I
Right.
just?
and we get community members, even folks who were not,
Right.
weren't here, weren't there, maybe not even born yet. They have to know what happened that day. They have to know that story. They have to know what took place and what took place after that day as well. And for me, it's not just about 9/11. It's about 9/11 and after, right? Everyone that we lost on that day, and everyone that we lost after. I view that as,
The true meaning of never forget.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
understand that, right?
and it's not just to never
Right.
forget. It's to always remember,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's to be proactive and think, always remember and keep those people's memories and what
Very
they
true.
went through, and what they saw, and what happened to them
Right.
at the fore of your mind. So we will look into this.
Thank you.
We will do our homework. We
Yeah.
will circle back to you.
was
Give us a little
great.
bit of time because we're in the
Thank you.
middle of the budget right now, and so things are a little crazy.
Right.
We will absolutely follow up with you.
We just
And
wanted
we
to
want
share
to,
our-
we'll help direct and we'll help figure out and we'll help strategize.
I hope we can get this resolved this year.
We will try.
Because these guys, we don't even know, they might be
We
not
will
longer
absolutely
with
try.
us,
It won't be
because
for
a lot
lack
of
of
guys,
effort, and it won't be for, we will absolutely try our best. We want to get this right.
how many guys I've been standing next to and talked to and videotaped and interviewed, and they're no longer with us. They're dead.
Believe me, believe me, I know.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know.
I have, after I finish this, we're gonna go to Robert Jackson's.
Yep, he's the chairman now, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go to his office, and then
Mm-hmm.
after that, I have to talk to the editor of the chief newspaper, because he's been working along with
Yep,
us.
yep,
And he wants to know what's transpiring.
good, okay.
Okay.
Good, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for your time.
Again, I appreciate
Thank you
everything.
for-
Great job.
My name's Alan Grande, TWU. I was a chief assistant shop steward out of 14th and 6th. I was part of rescue, recovery, and cleanup after 9/11. I served with thousands of American heroes. TWU, Local 100! We need to be heard. We're upstairs lobbying on behalf of the World Trade Center disability bills that they must hear us. We were there. We went out on strike in 2005. The word respect was about being respected for our work at the Trade Center. Every American that was down there. A lot of blood was shed. A lot of American lives were lost. I also was lobbying on behalf of many transit workers. Ron Shpiller, also another September 11th first responder out of 14th and 6th. And the list goes on. Many people died. Many people are left with tragedies. Many people are left with psychological memories. Many people were part of the first responders. What is a first responder? Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of cameras down below because of system safety. We had a lot of safety concerns. There's a lot of issues to be heard. That's what we were involved in today.
Transit cleared the
I
path.
thank you and God bless. Have a nice day.
Ronnie, say a couple of things, Ronnie. Go ahead.
Always positive, inspired by greatness, nothing gets me down. As your administrative vice president, today I'm here to pronounce supreme excellence to you and what's going on behind the scenes. Many of you don't know since this man took president, and if you know me, I would have been gone. I don't follow weak leadership. I need somebody that's bold, that's daring, that can stand before management and produce. This man, he's not speaking to you what's going on behind the scenes. There's been a 100% transformation process. Trust me, we up 4:30 in the morning, you have executive board meetings at 7 a.m. You need something to eat, but you're going to work the hell out of you till damn near nighttime. Everybody gets up and do their job, even the training is all inclusive to exemplify and to exalt us to the next generation. His focus on women training in terms of the development for women in high places, so there's no bias and or discrimination as opposed to things that may have happened in the past. And yes, race matters. We deal with everything behind the scenes with this president. He could have walked out this door 10 minutes ago, a half an hour ago, but he stays until the last man drops. Now, he's not going to be the most popular. I'm going to tell you that anytime God designs a new function where things come into a new fruition, it's strange. It takes hard work, dedication. And he's our brother. Trust me when I tell you, he's shaking everything up on the inside, and I love it. No one will be unaccountable under this administration. He came in swinging day one, and it has to be respected. A lot of y'all don't know behind, and he's in the field. I'm in the field, 5, 6 in the morning, out there. Some of y'all see me, ain't scared of nothing. We here to transform it, to bring you truth. We ain't hot nothing. We here to be honest with you. Ain't smoke, drink, chasing women or men. We working. You got to give this president a thundering round of applause for the transformation that he's doing in the TWU. I humbly bow out and say thank you.
So, thank you very much for that. Thank you, HR, very much. Again, I want to just make sure I'm inclusive of everyone in here, not to forget anyone. I don't care what walk of life you come from. I just want everybody involved in that one TWU. I'm not a perfect person. I try to make the best decisions. I make mistakes. That's just what life is. We learn to move on. But if I can get to perfection, it would be great. But I just want to make sure if there's anyone else who want to come up here to this mic and give a report. Charisse DeVos. Give a round of applause for this lady, the patent director. Charisse, stand up, stand up. Let's put this event together today. I hope you all had food and ate and everything you need. If we did not get something to you, please let me know. I want to fix whatever it is that you did not receive today. And Charisse, ready to come here? Just want to recognize you real quick because we're going to leave soon. So Charisse has been working all weekend up and down the halls for the last 2 weeks trying to get all these bills that you see passed and making sure that we're here today working on your behalf, and it's been tremendous in the operation. So I just want to give a shout out, a big round of applause for today. Thank you very much. I sure recognize you for that. And so we're gonna, if no one else wants to come up, that's it. No one wants to give a report. I guess everybody's scared of the mic.
Cleared the path, man. You guys cleared the path.
All right, so Flatbush Eagle, can you come to the stage and you can rock it, Rolando? Go ahead, Rolando. Go ahead. Thank you very much. Well, hold on, Rolando.
Thank you, everybody, so much. I love transit workers, and I have to say that both of my grandfathers, my cousins, uncles worked for transit. So when I was a little kid, I was afforded a life that people in my neighborhood did not have because I had a family that worked for transit. And I didn't understand it then, but our friends used to call us the Cosby kids because we had a good life because my family worked for transit. So to me, I'm paying you guys back for what you've done for me my entire life and my family. And I love you guys. Thank you so much. And this is your Coke dollars at work. When people tell you don't pay Coke, what they're telling you is to silence your voice. When you come up here to speak to these elected officials about what's going on in your life, that's your right. And that Coke fund, trust me, I'm not mismanaging your fund. We're not mismanaging your fund. As I tell you, when somebody tell them, we're not going to jail. Okay? It's a criminal offense to mess with the Coke fund and mismanage it. So, Reese, Richard, Cheryl, none of us are going to prison. I guarantee you that. So if somebody says that we mess with your Coke funds, let them know. I'm not going to jail. We're not going to jail. Thank you.
I'm not meant for jail, so that's not for me. But I don't want to get too harping on this social media stuff, but social media is very important to you, whether we accept it or not. It is the way of life. the way it is. If you pull out your cell phone, you have to, right now I don't work with business cards. If you ask me for a business card, you have to scan the back of my phone. Thank you, Senator Ramirez from the Communications Department. You have to scan my phone to get a business card. There's no other way these days. So we're going fully electronic. And I'm going to keep doing paper. I'm going to continue to do paper, but just know that the new generation is all about media. So we have to figure a way how to organize media and organize the next generation. But one of the dangers is we have people putting out information there, such misinformation, like we're going to steal $5 million from the Retirees Association, which is next to impossible. No one here can steal any money. We have to turn our documents into the Department of Labor on what we do. So you can't, but you do need money to run a local. Striking, you have to have money. It's impossible not to have money. So I just want to keep it clear that we run a very tight outfit here. And everybody in the Union Hall knows you have to have what? 3 jobs. Everybody know. On West Indian, you have to have 3 jobs. They go crazy with that. Nobody sleeps. If I don't sleep, they don't sleep. That's how this works out. We're going to work for you day and night. We're going to see you in the field, and we're going to be supportive of the membership and making sure that we're very, 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 very visible in any way possible. Like we change the shirt around. We have new shirts, different color shirts, and I'm big on branding and supporting and make sure we market this union to be on the next level. So with that, thank you all for coming out. Thank you very much. Rolando, sorry. Okay, see you next time. Let's go.